Welcome to the Paths math program. There are 20 levels. The first one is order, the second one is degree, and then from 3 until 8 is all about Euler paths and circuits. 9 until 14 is all about Hamiltonian paths and circuits. Then you have a mixed level of Euler and Hamiltonian for level 15. Level 16 is chromatic number. Levels 17 and 18 are paths of minimum value, paths of maximum value, and then 19 and 20 are tree of minimum value, tree of maximum value. Let us have a look at how the program works. On the first few levels, they're just asking you what the order is, and you just enter your answer. You can click on the vertices and on the links, and when you do, it'll put some writing down here, what you've clicked on. The writing doesn't make a lot of sense in this first level, because it's asking what the order of the graph is, and the order is just how many dots you have. You can click on the vertices, you can click on, if you click on two vertices, and there's an arc between it, lights up the arc. It's a lot easier just to click on the arcs to light them up. You don't need to do any clicking on level 1. All you have to do is count how many vertices you have. This would be 6. Degree is just how many arcs are going into a vertex. The degree of vertex F would be, it has 3 arcs going into it, 3 lines going into it. The degree would be 3. Levels 3, 4, and 5, we have Euler paths and Euler circuits. Euler's all about the edges. We're trying to get all of these edges lit up by following a simple path. So you can't run over any of the edges twice. If I start at D, I could go to A to B, back to E, and then down to C, and then to A, and that would be an Euler path. For these levels, what you want to do is click on the arcs. I can't start there. If you make a mistake, these are your undo buttons. You can also draw. Want to write something if you want to see this one's out. You want to highlight a line, you can do that. You can pick different colors. If we're on the pen tool and you press undo, it undoes the pen. It doesn't undo any of the arcs that you've done. If you click on an arc and the pencil's not on, it lights up the arc. If you press undo, it unlights the arc. We have Hamiltonian paths and circuits. Hamiltonian is all about the vertices, so we're just trying to go vertex to vertex. So if I started doing B to A to E to D to C, that would be a Hamiltonian path, but we're after a Hamiltonian circuit, so I have to get back to B somehow. I'm going to use my undo button. I'm going to bypass. To get back to B, I would have to bypass the E, so I'm going to go from A to the D to the C, up to the E, and then down to the B, and there's my circuit. This is a drawing of an arc. This color is the color of the arcs. You can change the color of the arcs. You can make them all whatever color you like. So if you want them to be purple, you can, once you select them, they become purple. This is the vertices, changes the colors of the vertices. If you want the vertices to be green, now they're green. And the edges, the arcs, are purple. This is the pencil, and you can change the pencil color. The eraser, if the pencil is on, it'll erase the pencil drawings. So if you have the pencil on and you click the eraser, it will erase. If you double click, it'll erase everything. So if you've drawn 2 things, if you just click the eraser, you can then roll over whatever you're drawing. You can erase parts of it. If you double click, it'll erase everything. If the pencil's not on, that means that it's assuming that you're talking about these arcs and vertices. So if you double click the eraser, it'll erase all those. So that's how the tools work. You have letters here. You don't really need to use them, because if it's asking you to find a Hamiltonian circuit, and we were doing this circuit, okay, notice as you click on the arcs, they light up, but also it writes down the path that you're following. You don't ever have to type this in, but if you want to, you can. Down here, of course, we have the help videos. Since you're watching this, presumably you found this help video. If you're doing chromatic number and you make a mistake, it will show you what your mistake is, or what the right answer is, but saying that the answer is 4, and it gives you an example of the path diagram colored in. So this is one example. Many other examples are possible, and it got a chromatic number of 4, and it's saying you have these, A is adjacent to C, it's beside C, and they're both white. That's the first error it found. This is useful if you're doing something like this, and you start off with D is degree 5, F is degree 5. So it doesn't matter D or F, I'm going to start with one of those. Everything that's adjacent to D would be E, F. G, I can't paint it because it's adjacent to F. I can't paint it red. A is adjacent to F. B is adjacent to F and to E. Red is out in those cases, so I'm going to switch to green. G can be green. A is not adjacent to A, and B is not adjacent to any of those. B, A, and G are not adjacent to each other, so they can all be green. C can be yellow. because it's not adjacent to D. We go to yellow, and there we go. So our chromatic number is 3. But let's say I just decide to make this one green, and it doesn't change our chromatic number. We've still used 3 colors. But the error is that C is adjacent to A, and it's also adjacent to G. So if I press return, I'm right, C is adjacent to A, that's the problem, right? And they're the same color, and they're both green. But you get some feedback, and it gives you an example of one way to color it. The other examples of solutions would be if you're working on Euler paths or Hamiltonian paths. It's asking you to find a Hamiltonian circuit. When you make a mistake, it gives you a little animation showing you exactly what a Hamiltonian circuit is. I've started at A and I've ended at A. It shows you the animation, and you can pause the animation like mid-animation. So if you hit that pause button, it'll pause until you hit resume. It shows you the full circuit in this case. Once it gets to the end, it pauses for a bit and then it moves on to the next one. It will go all the way through the list. Once it gets to the end of the list, it'll start over at the beginning. You don't need to watch all of them. It's just to give you an idea that there are solutions. If you make an error on these, it will show you what it thinks the solution should be. It'll give you an animation of that, and the animation pauses at the end and then repeats. You can pause this at any point. And that is it for the Path Diagrams math program. Have a good day.